She has a new cupcake shop in New London. It's called the Cupcake Mansion, filled with all sorts of different cupcakes, and you're always baking and coming up with new, fun, different creations. Good to see you, Amanda.
Nice to see you again, too.
It's so fun to have somebody and watch somebody grow and, you know, make their dreams come true. So have you, you know, just always loved cupcakes?
Always, since I was a teenager.
You know, they just make you smile when you see cupcakes. So this is a fun one. We're going to show you if you're missing Hostess Twinkies or those Hostess chocolate cupcakes, which I used to get in my lunch bag as a grade schooler. I was all excited every once in a while, not all the time, but sometimes I could talk my mom into buying them, and then I'd get one in my lunch bag, and it was such a treat. So if you're missing those because they're not making them anymore, we're going to show you how you can recreate them and make them even better at home, because I don't think they were actually as good as we all thought they were. You know what I mean?
Right, and these are actually, I call them fauxstesses. So you're going to be the hostess of the fauxstess today.
I love it. I love it. And like I say, there were so many different weird ingredients, and I think that we all loved them as a kid, but if you have them as an adult, they're not quite as good. So these are good. They're really, really good. And they're pretty easy and fun to make. So
and I think it's because they're like an actual cupcake, and we know all the ingredients that are inside of them. You know, they're all natural and everything.
Right, exactly. So we're starting with, and I love this, a box cake mix. So anybody can do this. We're using a Devil's Food box cake mix, so right into our mixer, and then don't follow the directions on the cake mix, right? We want to actually change things up, and that's what you do a lot with your jazz up. You're like me, you like to jazz up box cake mix and make them taste extra special.
Right, like at my shop I have a signature chocolate cupcake that I make from scratch, but I thought this would be a lot easier for everybody at home to make.
Sure.
And it's still really delicious. So how I make it like more of a dark, rich chocolate cupcake is I actually mix chocolate syrup in with water, like a half a cup of chocolate syrup in with a half a cup of water to replace the water in the mix.
Okay, so this is what this is. This is just, you know, the bottled chocolate syrup, a half of a cup, and a half a cup of water, which will thin it out a little bit. So use that instead of the water measurement that it says on the back of the box. Then we've got, how many eggs?
3 eggs, just like it calls out on the box.
Okay. And then oil.
The eggs, and then a third a cup of oil.
Okay.
So really what jazzes it up is the chocolate syrup, and then what you add later on.
All right, so we're just going to get that going, like you would.
So you mix that up.
Okay, till it's nice and smooth. Now, you've gone ahead and made a homemade, wonderful marshmallow frosting.
I did.
Full recipe for that is on our website, but tell us a little bit of what's in it.
Well, I wanted to use like a marshmallow fluff base. Because that's really what it looks like is inside of a Hostess cupcake. So it's marshmallow fluff, butter, vanilla, and powdered sugar. And it's really easy to make, and it just comes out really fluffy. And then I use that too for the swirls, like on the cupcakes.
So we get this nice and smooth, and then we've got a cookie muffin tin that we've lined with, you know, your muffin liners, and then you love to use, and I love to use, like a scoop. So we just take a little bit of the batter and
so you
scoop
just use
it
a
in.
basic ice cream scoop.
Sure.
You can twist that off.
Yep. We'll get rid of the mixer here. And then oven temperature for these, just like regular cupcakes?
It just depends on your oven. I always bake it at like 325.
Okay.
For about 22 minutes, or until you insert a toothpick in the cupcake and it comes out clean. And you fill them only about halfway full. They puff up a lot, especially when you're using a mix.
Okay, good to know that. So, and I think the other key, and we've talked about this before with cupcakes, is because unlike a big cake, cupcakes tend to dry out, so I don't like to overbake them. That's key. So anywhere between 18 and 22 minutes, keep an eye on them. And with chocolate, it's a little bit harder to tell when they're done because you're not going to be able to see, you know, that they turn golden. So those are done, baked. So we've got them right here, and then we've let them cool. Now we're going to fill them just like those cupcakes that you remember growing up. Now this is like, is this a little melon baller?
It is. I use a melon baller.
Okay.
Do you want to do it?
Sure. So we're just going to make a little hole in here.
Yep. You scoop it all the way to the bottom of the cupcake.
All the way to the bottom. And do you get to eat this part?
Yeah, or you could turn it into cake pops.
Okay,
I do that sometimes.
Okay. And now we've got, we basically took this is our marshmallow.
That's our marshmallow fluff frosting, and I use a pretty big tip. And
so we get lots in here.
Inside. Yep, pipe it right on in there.
So there's going to be a little surprise in there with everybody. I think it would be really fun to do like a retro party. I've always wanted to do that.
I have too.
You know, where you do things that you grew up with. We got to do a retro show, Abby. We've got to do that sometime.
That would be so much fun.
That'd be really fun. Those things that,
kid.
yeah, exactly. Those things you grew up with, and just, then you get to wear the clothes you grew up with, and everybody will have lots of fun. Okay, so now at this point, you like to then refrigerate these for a little bit. Why do you do that?
I do that because it hardens out the frosting a little bit so that the frosting doesn't drip into the chocolate ganache that you're going to dip it into next.
Okay, because remember those chocolate cupcakes had this wonderful kind of chocolate coating on them.
Right.
Now this is going to be much more wonderful than the coating that you remember that was on these. This is actually chocolate ganache, which is?
It is really simple. If you want to do it at home, it's just chocolate chips and heavy whipping cream, and the recipe is actually on your website.
Okay, and it's just, just all goodness. So at home, maybe just pat this down a little bit.
Yep.
And if you refrigerate
it out a
these,
little bit.
it's just going to, be that much easier. And we just basically
it's
dip.
like cupcake fondue. You just dip it in.
Make sure you get all the sides, and then it hardens pretty easily, right?
Yep, and then it takes a little while to harden, probably like 10 minutes.
Okay.
And while it's still wet, of course, Amy, we have the edible glitter.
I love that.
Disco dust, and you sprinkle. I like to sprinkle the edible glitter, or even like sprinkles on it.
Everything's better with little sprinkles on top. Life is boring. Got to have some sprinkles. And then if you want, you can decorate the top with a name.
Yeah.
This is really cute. Thank you. I got my own monogram.
For you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Or you can do the little squirrelies that they're known for, but lots of fun little different things that you can do.
Yeah, so you can just swirl it on. I use a French pastry tip, a small one.
If we're missing those Hostess cupcakes, these are even better. And Amanda's going to stick around. Twinkies, remember those? Of course you do. You can't buy those anymore either. So we're going to show you a new twist on those. It'll give you the flavors, but even better. It's a new twist on Twinkies coming up.